Hello and welcome to West Bloomfield 911. I'm Officer Rick, and as always, we welcome you to the show. Men and women of the West Bloomfield Police Department are so pleased that you tuned in, and I am as well. Today we have from MAD, no, I'm not MAD, but Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we have Angel Harris. She's a victim services specialist, and we want to welcome you to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on, Angel. Now, don't run away, stay right there. And we are going to highlight in the corner spotlight a employee of the police department, all right?
Awesome, thanks.
All right. Folks, if you look on the screen, you will see the smiling countenance of Police Cadet Brent Studer. And he is currently assigned to administration as a police cadet. And he's been here for 9 months as he hired in August of 2013. Now, Brent knows that being a cadet is a nice entryway into the law enforcement field. It gives him a chance to see if this is what he really wants to do for his future. It also gives us an opportunity to see if he's a good worker, and thus far he certainly is, so we're glad to have him here. I asked Brent what his favorite food was, and he said pizza, and I think that is pretty much the favorite food of almost everybody in West Bloomfield, at least in our department. His favorite book, The Iliad, and I don't know many people that have said that, so I commend you on that, Brent. And sometimes, I don't know if he knows this, but that is sometimes referred to as the Song of the Lion or the Song of Ilium, and it's an ancient Greek epic poem attributed to Homer. So he's quite an intellect when he likes the Iliad as his favorite book. His favorite movie, action movies, and that seems to be the rule for people that want to get into law enforcement. And his favorite music, good old-fashioned rock and roll, and I can go with that as well. When I asked him about his hobbies and accomplishments, he was particularly proud of graduating cum laude, which is Latin for with honor, from Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. So you're a long way from Virginia, Brent, but we're glad you're here. And his quote, "Do the best you can for the sake of the task at hand, not for personal glory." And you know, I like that quote, and I hope that all of us live by that. And actually, I read that Jay Leno said something like that, and you guys know who Jay Leno is, former talk show host on The Tonight Show, and he was quoted as saying, "Your preoccupation should be on doing what you do as well as you can, what your coworkers say about you, what your opponent is doing, that doesn't matter." And Brent has said it kind of in the same way. So Brent, thank you for being here. And I hope you continue to succeed in law enforcement and you have a long and illustrious career here in West Bloomfield. Now we're going to turn the corner spotlight off on Brent, and today we're going to talk about fireworks. Since we are entering into the summer season shortly, folks, you need to keep heed of the danger of fireworks. We want all our citizens to be safe throughout the year, but especially during our Independence Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day holidays, when people really seem to like to use these fireworks. Make safety a priority, and remember, all fireworks pose a safety hazard and should be considered dangerous. Actually, you may not know, but from 2000 to 2006, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission actually reported 49 people killed nationwide while using fireworks, and in 2007 alone, 10,800 people were injured by fireworks in the U.S., with children under 15 accounting for 1/3 of those injuries. So they are very dangerous. Closer to home, on July 4th in 2007, you may recall a Melvindale woman, mother of 3, was killed when she was struck by a commercial firework that had gone bad. So listen, folks, fireworks are very dangerous. Even sparklers can burn at temperatures exceeding 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. So what can you do to stay safe? Use only legal fireworks. Stay away from illegal explosive. Use them outdoors. Always have an adult present. Have water handy. Light only one firework at a time. Never give them to small children, and never throw them or point them at other people. If you want more information regarding fireworks, go to the Michigan State Police website. They'll tell you what fireworks are legal or illegal. And we in the West Bloomfield Police Department wish all of you a safe holiday, no matter what holiday you are celebrating, okay? Be safe using those fireworks and have fun. Folks, we are going to be right back, so don't go away, with Angel Harris from Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Come on back.
You're watching West Bloomfield 911 on Civic Center TV, a service of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission. For more information or to watch episodes on demand, visit civiccentertv.com/WB911. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
The West Bloomfield Police Foundation raises money to help those who protect and serve the community. Whether it's emotional or financial support, the foundation provides a helping hand to officers, their families, and those in the community. For more information on the West Bloomfield Police Foundation, contact Kurt Lawson at 248-975-8900 or visit wbpolicefoundation.org.
And we are back. Once again, welcome to West Bloomfield 911. We are very pleased to have with us from MAD, Angel Harris, Victim Services Specialist.
Hi.
Thank you. We're glad you're here, and you know, always talk with folks like you over the phone. It's always interesting, and I'm very happy to be able to put the voice to the face. So we're glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about, I mean, everyone knows what MAD stands for, and no, I'm not mad, folks, but
I always say I'm not that mad.
Not that mad? I like that. Can I use that?
Sure.
Okay. Or do you get some sort of
Royalty?
monetary
No,
royalty?
I don't get a royalty.
Okay.
I haven't patented it. Yeah.
All right. Tell me about MAD. What drew you to Mothers Against Drunk Driving? Because we had talked off camera, and you had graduated from U of D Mercy with a dual bachelor's degree, psychology and political science. Yeah. And you originally said you were going into pre-law and decided you wanted to do social work instead. And so you've got your degree in psychology. What drew you to Mothers Against Drunk Driving?
Well, prior to working for MAD, I worked with doing community mental health work with adults with chronic and persistent mental illness. And what I found that was a lot of people that were in that system ended up there after some type of traumatic event. So there was a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder or depression related to some type of traumatic event. And when I saw that there was a position with MAD, I thought that it would allow me to work with a population where the focus was on one particular type of traumatic event and kind of specialize in that area and work on grief and PTSD and things of that nature. And so I kind of thought that would be a great transition point and applied for the position.
Well, let me ask you, and this may not be directly related to MAD, but some of the classes I've gone to, and we've talked about people that have chronic emotional or psychological problems, and they're addicted to whether it be alcohol or drugs. It's hard to say which came first sometimes, whether the mental illness came first or the addiction or vice versa. Do you find that to be true also, that it's hard to tell which comes first? In
the work that I have done, specifically prior to this, I worked with a lot of people that had the co-occurring disorders. So they had substance abuse as well as some mental illness diagnosis. And a lot of times that is the issue. Like sometimes I've had people who I worked with who displayed no signs of mental illness until they started using substances. Okay. And then it precipitated other symptoms, whether that have been they used a hallucinogen and then they started experiencing some type of hallucinations or whatnot, and then they kind of just never went away, or they didn't realize they were self-medicating until they were so far into it. The symptoms started showing later more progressively. Okay. But yeah, it's definitely, they do go hand in hand a lot. Sometimes people are just depressed or whatnot and they start to use substances after those symptoms display. So definitely, across my different experiences, I have seen that to be the connection there.
Okay, well now specifically, what is, I guess, the mission statement? It kind of says it in the title, obviously, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, but they're not, MAD doesn't strictly focus on drunk driving. What is their mission statement?
Well, we have a three-pronged mission. The first is to eliminate drunk driving. The second is to serve the victims of drunk driving crashes. And the third, which started to be a focus in around 1999, was to prevent underage drinking. So we work now in trying to get in other programs into the community, into schools and whatnot, to eliminate and prevent the underage drinking.
Okay.
We feel like if you catch it before it starts,
Mm-hmm.
you have a better chance of preventing it from happening.
Well, I teach TEAM, which kind of took the place of DARE.
Okay.
In the schools I teach to the 5th graders. It's teaching, educating, and mentoring. And one of the classes we teach is alcohol abuse. Mm-hmm. And I try to teach the kids that you know, if they do choose to use alcohol and they're not 21, that it could cost them up to $10,000 if they get caught particularly drunk driving, and that there are other factors as well. So hopefully that does help keep the kids away from that. But let's talk about the other two prongs of your mission.
Okay.
The first is to prevent or reduce drunk driving.
Eliminate. We want to eliminate drunk driving.
Okay. Are we going to eliminate it?
We hope so.
Okay. What do we do to eliminate it?
Well, definitely community awareness, kind of educating the community on the dangers, reaching out to like judges, and so that the punishments and the sentences related to drunk driving are enough of a deterrent that people will not want to do it again, mm-hmm. or the fear of that, like you said, you tell the kids $10,000. We hope that as those the sentencing guidelines and stuff increase, that people will be less likely to drink and drive. Also, like I said, education. And then we are also really involved in like the technology related to it. So interlock systems on cars for drunk drivers, mm-hmm. Breathalyzer, home breathalyzer tests, things like that can be put in as conditions of probation and whatnot to further encourage people to follow, you know, the probation conditions, right. and not do it again. Right. And then, of course, with the prevention aspect, we're trying to reach the people that already have not already incurred a drunk
Sure.
driving violation, and keep them, you know, from doing so.
Well, now you said the second aspect was dealing with victims mm-hmm. of drunk driving. Does that mean that someone has to have a loved one that's killed by a drunk driver
Nope.
to get your services?
We work with victims. We work with victims that are injured or bereaved, as well as we work with anybody who's affected. So if a coworker of a victim calls, if somebody's killed in a drunk driving crash and a coworker who worked with that person just for whatever reason is struggling, and they call and they're like, you know, I just need some support, we provide support to whomever might need that free of charge. So mm-hmm. that includes like crisis counseling. When it comes to like family, say there's a bereaved person, mm-hmm. We go to court with them, we help them with that process, we link them to services in the community or resources, and we just provide advocacy and support. And we do the same thing for anybody who's injured, and we also work with people that have property damage. So you hear all those stories on the news about a car crashes into the front of a house. If it's alcohol related, and also we also do drug to driving now, so any type of other substance, if it's related, then we would provide services to them as well.
Well, now let me ask you, on a accident report, if it shows an indicator that alcohol is a factor, the person may not necessarily have been drunk driving. Do you get involved in that as well, if alcohol is a factor?
What do you mean by that?
Well, for instance, someone may say, yes, I had something to drink, but they may not necessarily be drunk. So would that be something bad would also get involved in?
Typically, what we typically focus on is if it's
driving.
0.08 or higher.
Okay.
Now, if there is say there's a crash and somebody isn't at that limit, but they're still charged with like operating because they're still impaired, even
Yes.
though we would still be involved then.
Very good, very good. Now, do you offer services for the drunk driver?
We do not.
Okay.
We do have, we are connected with the courts, and MAD does do victim impact panels and minor in possession panels, mm-hmm. and those are things that the court judges order, you know, the offenders to attend. Well, our victim impact panel and our minor in possession panels, we have victims come in and speak. So, for instance, tonight I'm doing a victim impact panel in Mount Clemens. Mm-hmm. There will be, the offenders will come, and then I have victims that come in and speak to them, tell their stories. And the goal is to hopefully put a face to what could happen.
Right.
And typically these are people that have not had a crash yet. They've just been pulled over, and they've been arrested and charged with a DUI and sentenced to come. Typically, if there's a crash, other things are, there's other sentences that, their sentencings are higher and they don't end up at our panels, but sometimes they do. But we hope that by giving them a face, like you said, to put a face to the voice, we want to put a face to the story, and we want them to see what could happen.
So that they don't think it's a victimless crime.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, you also work, you said we sit in the courtrooms with some of the victims and stuff. Does Matt also sit in the courtrooms, let's say, to help move the political process along, or talk with legislatures to move the political process to get those type of laws, like reducing, let's say, the drunk driving level from 0.10 down to 0.08? Does Matt do legislative work like that?
We have volunteer positions at this point, and some states do have people that are employed at least on a part-time basis, but we have volunteer positions available at this point where it's called court monitoring, and we have volunteers that will go into courts and they'll just sit in a judge's courtroom who may have a docket of a lot of DUIs, and they won't speak to anyone, and they won't let anybody know that they're from MAD. What they'll do is they'll just document what the sentencing, how that judge is sentencing on these cases, things like that, so we can collect that information and that data and how we approach things moving forward. But MAD definitely is involved as well on the legislature side. I don't have a lot of experience in that just because of what my role is, but they definitely on a national level and more on our executive level address that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what your role is as a victim services specialist. Someone calls and says, I need Angel's help. And that might be appropriate that your name is Angel, because I need an angel to help me.
I have a lot of my victims say that.
Yeah, so maybe that's, you got guided to this position. Maybe. So tell me, if I need your help, what do you do for me?
Typically I'll receive a call or a referral. If they call our national helpline, it'll get to me and I'll contact them. But if they call me, typically what I do is I find out the details of their crash. So what happened? Is this a bereaved person? Is this or is it someone who was injured? I collect that information. I will find out what's going on with the court process. If they don't know, I will assist them. So I might reach out to law enforcement who handled that crash, the prosecutor in the county that's handling it, or the court to find out what's going on that side. And then I find out what resources they're looking for. Sometimes they are looking for grief counseling. Sometimes they are looking for physical rehabilitation for a loved one who is currently going to be in need of that. Sometimes they're looking for a civil attorney because they need help figuring out all the insurance stuff. Whatever that might be, I talk to them about that. I provide them with whatever information I have, like literature and stuff that they can read. And then I schedule a face-to-face with them so I can meet them and sit down. And typically I will walk them through the process. So whatever that might be for them, it's really a unique case every time. Sometimes they want me to go to court with them. So I attend court with them and provide support. Every victim every victim at a sentencing is allowed to do a victim impact statement. I work with them on getting that together. Sometimes they can't get all of their thoughts on paper. So I will go through the process of getting that written down for them. I've read victim impact statements for my victims in court because the day comes and they just can't get up there and do it. And then I do a lot of follow-up. Really, honestly, my favorite part of this job is working with the victims and being a support to them. I've met so many wonderful people, and I've been able to learn so much about resilience and strength and fight and coming back, and being able to continue to have a relationship with them even after the court stuff is done or after they're out of the hospital and they're back home, allows me to really provide ongoing support. And that's my favorite part. So.
Right. And you've been doing this for, 2 years now?
Yep.
Now, you as a victim services specialist, obviously reaching out and helping these folks, but you were telling me that you work in 16 to 18 counties.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact number is right off the top of my head right now, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, that either way, that's a lot of territory.
Yes.
How do you manage that much territory?
To be honest with you, the bulk of the crashes that occur that I receive like contact from are really in Wayne, Oakland, Monroe, more metro area, just because of traffic and all of that. Now, outreach and stuff in the other counties, of course, I do. And if I do get a victim out of there, then I travel there and I just make a day of it. It's like, oh, I have a meeting in Kalamazoo. Well, that's a day. Like, I'll travel out and I'll meet and I'll try to schedule a few things and, you know, do what needs to be done in that area at that time. I'm fortunate that I have the counties that I have that are metro that I do have, unfortunately, the most traffic from. I can get to pretty easily. I'm able to be much more actively involved and be involved in different organizations and coalitions and reach out to other supports and stuff in those communities.
Well, let's talk about reaching out, because you said you do that, but MAD does that in a variety of ways. Oftentimes you'll see a sticker on a card that says, my son or daughter was killed by a drunk driver and I'm mad. Yeah. You know, that always kind of gets my attention anyway. But you guys also do a kind of an awards banquet for law enforcement officers, particularly those who are very active in eliminating drunk driving and making those arrests. But you also are involved, like the Inkster Task Force. What is that?
Inkster Task Force is a coalition organization within the city of Inkster. And they have different goals, but one of those is underage drinking, substance abuse, drug use within the city, underage tobacco use, and violence. And it's just different members of the community and of that city that come together, and they encourage citizens to come as well, and some do, but it's mostly different organizations in the community that come together and try to put on events or put attention to things that are current issues. So a lot of different cities and counties have these coalitions or organizations that the citizens can get involved in, and the members of different organizations in that area. But Inkster Task Force is one of the ones that I'm involved in. Now,
you've got some others like the Garden City Community Coalition, the Livonia Save Our Youth Coalition. All those are the same type of things?
Very similar, yeah. Some of them have different focuses, but they're usually all related to underage, drug use, drinking, tobacco use. Inkster focuses more on violence than the other coalitions, only because they unfortunately have a very high rate of violence and violent crime.
Kind of a small city with big city problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, now MAD has been around for how long?
MAD was originally. The idea kind of came in 1980. It actually started in 1981. In 1980, one of the original founders, Candace Leitner, her daughter was killed by a drunk driver.
Okay.
And in 1981, another mother, her 5-month-old daughter, the mother was Cindy, her 5-month-old daughter was killed by a drunk driver, and the two of them somehow came connected and started driving the legislative aspect of this to make change and to strengthen, like to develop stronger laws on drunk driving and the, you know, how they were handled. And then that kind of developed into a grassroots activism, and it grew and was mostly volunteers, and then it just kind of grew from there, and that's where it really turned into, okay, let's work with the victims and let's try to, you know, really focus on eliminating this senseless crime.
Now, are they still involved by any chance, those ladies?
I know that Candace Leitner is not, and I'm not sure about
I'm just kind of curious about
Yeah.
that. Now, is MAD have a chapter in each state in the union?
MAD does have chapters everywhere. Some are just volunteer states, so there's no actual employees there. It's all volunteer ran.
Okay.
And then some actually have like
But they still have a presence.
Yes.
All right. Now, we only have a couple minutes left here, Angel. So what would you like to tell the folks out there about MAD, or give a number out and a website? What do you think is important for people to know about Mothers Against Drunk Driving that you'd like them to know?
Well, I think it's important, first of all, one of the things I come across a lot is that people will say to me, they think it's all mothers, it's all women. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Originally, it was Mothers Against Drunk Driving because it was two mothers that came together.
Sure.
Actually, originally it was Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, and it changed to Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Oh, okay.
But it's not all women, it's not all mothers. Even staff-wise, at our office, our executive director is a male, a father. One of my co-workers who does the same job I do, he's a male, he's a father. We serve victims. A lot of our victims that get involved and volunteer afterwards are fathers and brothers and sons of victims. So I just kind of want everyone to know that, like, it's not just mothers. It's community, it's everyone.
It's
It's
everyone.
whoever's affected, whoever wants to just be involved.
Well, give us a number, too, if someone wants to get a hold of MAD.
For MAD Michigan, our number is 248-528-1745.
Okay.
My extension is 2654 if anybody just wants to talk to me, or because we're in Oakland County and that's my county, if there's anybody who needs any support,
Excellent.
definitely can reach me
Excellent.
there.
Well, thank you, Angel. We're glad you're here. You guys do a lot of good work. And we'd like to remember a police officer. But folks, you know, we usually do a memorial on a fallen officer, and this is not a memorial in the traditional sense, but it is a fallen officer because, as I've told you before, in a law enforcement field, our canines who help us complete our mission to serve and protect are considered the police officer, and their male their human counterpart is considered the handler. We'd like you to look at the screen, and we'd just like to acknowledge the service and sacrifice of Canine Remy. Canine Remy was killed in the line of duty on January 13, 2014. She worked for the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, Detroit Branch Police. Canine Remy was killed in an automobile accident on I-96. You remember the terrible winter we had. She and her handler were en route to the Detroit branch of the Federal Reserve Bank for an assignment at the vehicle inspection facility. The handler's vehicle slid into a concrete barrier after sliding on a patch of ice. Remy's crate was ejected from the vehicle through a rear window and broke open. Remy then was subsequently struck by another vehicle which fled the scene, and Remy was killed at that location. Canine Remy served as an explosive detection canine, and it served with the agency for only 2 months. So we do want to acknowledge the service of this brave dog, like all the other canines, work dogs, and law enforcement who help us perform our function, and we say goodbye to Canine Remy. We would like to thank Angel Harris, Victim Services Specialist for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, for coming on the show today. Angel, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the work you do. And folks, we thank you for watching West Bloomfield 911. I'm Officer Rick, and on behalf of Chief Mike Patton, the men and women of the West Bloomfield Police Department, we thank you for watching us on the telly. But if you don't get us on the telly, remember you can tune us in on demand at civiccentertv.com. Take care of each other, love one another. Remember, tomorrow's promised to no one. I'm Officer Rick. We'll see you again on West Bloomfield 911.